Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at, in my opinion, the 10 must-picker band champions heading into Season 8. So these are the picks that you should be looking to highly prioritize in this upcoming season, and these are going to be the strongest picks when the new ranked season does hit live. So that being said guys, let's get started. And the way this video is going to be formatted, I'm just going to be giving the 10 strongest champions for this patch right now, just overall, not for a specific role. These are just overall the 10 strongest champions in my opinion. So the first one here is going to be Evelynn, and I think that Evelynn is one of the strongest and also one of just the most annoying junglers to deal with in solo queue. Solo queue Evelynn is just super strong because if you get ahead in the early game with Evelynn, your ability to pick out squishy targets and just one-shot them and just make whoever you want on the enemy team useless for the rest of the game is super easy to do. I think that Evelynn her kit is just a little bit too strong because she has the ability to just be stealth, so you don't know where she's coming from, and she can pop out a stealth and just one-shot you. There's very little counterplay to it, and I think the fact that she can one-shot a target and she can also use her ultimate to just escape and get out of there right away just makes her a little bit too strong, and there's honestly there's not a lot of counterplay to actually preventing Evelynn from one-shotting your squishy targets unless you do end up staying grouped at all times in the mid to late game, but let's be honest, in solo queue, that's just not going to happen very often. So I would definitely say that Evelynn is the best AP jungler for this patch. So if you are looking for an AP jungler and you don't have one in your champion pool right now, then I'd be definitely adding Evelynn for the start of next season. So next up here is going to be the AD variation of Evelynn pretty much, and it's Kha'Zix. So I think that Kha'Zix is also an extremely good jungler. We're in an early game meta right now, and Kha'Zix's ability to take over a game in the early game, get a snowball going, and end the game very fast is very easy to do on the champion. He's also a great pick because if you do get a snowball going with Kha'Zix, there's very little things the enemy team can do to actually shut you down. He's just going to come into the enemy jungle. He's going to have his ultimate upgraded or evolve, so he's going to be stealth whenever he walks into bushes, and I think that's one of the main reasons as to why Evelynn and Kha'Zix are so good for solo queue, because they do have that stealth mechanic in their kit, and if they get ahead, you just don't know where they're coming from. They pop out of stealth and they just one-shot you, and personally I think that that kind of gameplay isn't super fun to play against, but it's definitely one of the reasons as to why those junglers are really strong right now. And then another jungler here that we're going to take a look at, this is going to be the final jungler in this video, and it's going to be Shyvana. So I think that Shyvana is one of the strongest junglers if you're just auto-filled to jungle or you just don't really know what you're doing in the jungle, because I feel like whenever I see a Shyvana, she does nothing for the first 10 minutes of the game. She farms her jungle, she comes out of her jungle, and she just starts one-shotting everyone. The amount of damage this champion does is insane, and it feels like you don't even really need to know what you're doing on the champion to really succeed with her. You can just not do anything in the early game, come out with your blood razor, and then you're just a monster, and she pretty much can outduel every other jungler in the game once she does pick up that blood razor. So next up here, we're going to take a look at a few different mid lane picks. I think the mid lane is definitely pretty stacked in this patch, and there are definitely a few different picks you should be looking out for. So the first one is going to be Zoe. Zoe for solo queue, I think she's one of the strongest solo queue mid laners, mainly because she has the ability to really punish people for just being out of position, and a lot of the times in solo queue, people are just not going to be in the right position. If you do end up landing that good sleep on the enemy AD carry or mid laner, then you're almost guaranteed to burst them down or at least blow their flash in the mid to late game. If you can just be constantly hitting those sleeps on priority targets with Zoe, then you're gonna have very good success with her. Now, even though a lot of people, and myself included, do think Zoe is very strong, I do think there are still ways that you can deal with the champion, and I feel like people do complain a little bit too much about how OP this pick is. If you are playing mid lane against Zoe, then just run cleanse. If you can have the ability, or if you have the ability to just not get slept by Zoe, and you can just cleanse that, or you can QSS her sleep, then you're gonna have a lot more success against her. If you're playing AD carry against Zoe, then then I would look to grab an early QSS in the mid game. As long as Zoe cannot land her sleep on you, then she isn't going to have as much of a chance at one-shotting you come the mid to late game. So right now, Katarina is still the best assassin in my opinion. She got a small nerf, I think it was maybe last patch or even the patch before. It was kind of a laughable nerf though. It was a nerf to her E, and the damage got nerfed by a tiny little bit, but that's not really what's making Katarina so strong right now. She's one of the strongest like early game assassins. If you give this champion an inch, then she's gonna take a mile and she's just gonna take over the game. Once she gets Gunblade, she can pretty much just one-shot any squishy mid lane pick, and she just has the potential to just completely take over team fights if you let this champion get away. And then another mid lane pick that's been super strong for multiple patches and that's been S tier for a very long time is Malzahar. So it doesn't even look like in the coming patches Malz is receiving any nerfs, which is definitely very surprising. I just think this champion is way too low risk and way too high reward. So you just don't really need to even know what you're doing on the champion and you're still gonna have good success on him. His kit is just way too strong for solo queue and he's gonna be a very strong pick unless he does receive an actual substantial nerf. And then the final mid laner we'll take a look at in this video is going to be Xerath. So Xerath definitely did benefit a lot from the preseason changes, a lot more than most of the other mid lane champions. The mana flow band on Xerath is extremely good. It just allows him to stay in lane for a very long time, and combine that with his passive, he just rarely runs into mana problems now, which is something that he did run into before. Xerath is also just one of the strongest mid game champions, and he's also extremely good if you do end up getting a lead. If you get a lead with Xerath, just look to pressure that, look to siege towers. You can just poke the enemies down for days, and his ability to just take over a game if you get ahead and just siege and just end the game super fast is very easy to do so. So I think this is one of the first times I've ever had this champion on one of my picker ban lists, and it's definitely one of the first times this champion has been S tier in a while, and it's Vayne. So there's a lot of different reasons as to why Vayne is now a very strong pick, and she's the only AD carry that I'm gonna have here on my picker ban list for this patch. So the first reason as to why Vayne has gotten stronger recently is because of the nerfs to a lot of the lane bully champions, and just a lot of the previously strong lane bully champions not really being played right now and just not being strong at all. Caitlyn and Lucian, two picks that were generally pretty good against Vayne in the past, just aren't very strong right now and they're not played at all. Misfortune and Ezreal also did end up getting nerfs in previous patches, and they were two of the strongest lane bully picks. So with Vayne just not really getting bullied super hard right now and just not a lot of champions really able to bully her out of lane, it does make her a much stronger pick. Fleet Footwork did end up getting those buffs as well. I think it was last patch or the patch before, and that definitely helps out Vayne a lot. And then you've also got the like Overheal and Relic Shield meta right now going on, and that's really good on Vayne too. Once you get to the mid to late game, it's just pretty much impossible to end up killing a Vayne if she's got that Overheal and the Relic Shield, and she's just gonna have a massive shield. She's gonna be very hard to target because of her stealth, and if you know how to play Vayne well right now, I do think she is the strongest AD carry. And then the final two champions to round out the video are going to be top lane picks. The first one is going to be Camille. So Camille did end up getting a little bit over buffed in the preseason. I feel like she was already pretty good with Comet. Originally, a lot of people were running press the attack on Camille, and with that, she wasn't performing very well. But once people started taking Comet on her, and once people realized that was strong, I think she was in a pretty good spot. So the buffs that she did end up receiving kind of made her a little bit too strong, and she definitely is, in my opinion, one of the strongest, if not the strongest bruiser top laner for this patch. And then lastly here, to round out this video, is going to be a champion that I think is one of the best blind pick top laners right now, and I still think she is definitely very underrated. Not a lot of people have picked her up yet, but it's Alawi. So I think that Alawi is the best top laner right now into like pretty much any melee matchup. She's also not even that bad against some of the range lane bully top laners right now, and I think that the fact that Kleptomancy on Alawi is just so easy to proc in the laning phase, you're W is on like a very short cooldown. It's on below a 4-second cooldown, I'm pretty sure. So whenever your W is up, you can look to proc Kleptomancy with that. You can also hit your E on the opponent, and when you hit your E on them, you can activate your Q, which will proc Kleptomancy. You can also activate your W on your E, and it's just very easy to generate a ton of resources in the early game with Alawi. If you are someone who does want to pick up Alawi, one thing I would recommend that not a lot of people are doing on her is going for an early Sheen and then going for a Trinity Force on Alawi. A lot of pro players and a lot of high elo Alawi players are doing this, although most like lower tier players and most just average Alawi players are still going Black Cleaver on her. The reason you want to go Trinity Force and the reason to why it's strong is because the amount of damage you can do with your W from the Trinity Force proc in a mid-game team fight is insane. Also, once you do end up getting Trinity Force and Sterix, because base damage did get buffed in the preseason, and because the interaction between base damage and the Trinity Force proc is really good, it just means that the amount of damage you're going to do with your W as Alawi in mid to late game team fights is insane, and you can pretty much half health a squishy target with just one W during a team fight. So that is going to be all for this video. These were, in my opinion, the champions that are going to be the strongest heading into the next ranked season, and these are the picks that you should be definitely looking to either pick or ban heading into season 8. So if you guys have yet to already, be sure to enter into the RP giveaway. I'll have the link down in the description below, so if you're interested in that, then be sure to enter if you want. With that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe if you've yet to already. Thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.